The verification chamber's hum stopped. For the first time in 7,200 years, there was silence. Drakenver stood at the tactical display, his 4 amber eyes fixed on the numbers. He had seen 637 ships lost. He had seen 13,400 crew dead. He had not seen the white dots growing. He had been watching the red ones shrink. Then Admiral Serk's voice came through the open channel. It was calm, almost tired. You gave us 74 hours. We gave ourselves 287 years. You came with 1,200 ships. We built 4,700. You are not outnumbered. You are outprepared. The display flickered once. A single glitch in the projection, a stray line that cut across the remaining 563 ships. Sarathkor's secondary eyelids flickered. He had never seen that glitch before. It was wrong. Then Serk said the words, "That was only the beginning." The hum did not return. The silence stretched. Ver did not move. He had not moved since the hum stopped. His jaw ridges did not click. His hands stayed at his sides. The 4 amber eyes stared at the white dots, 700 of them now fully visible and more spooling from the silent yards. The red dots, his fleet, were retreating. He had never ordered a retreat. He had never seen one. Sarathkor's secondary eyelids flickered again. He counted. The verification chamber had run for 7,200 years. It had never failed. It had never stopped. But it had stopped now, and the silence was not empty. It was full of something he could not name. He looked at the Supreme Commander's face. The obsidian plating showed no expression. But the eyes had not blinked once. They were frozen on the numbers. That silence, I had never heard it. I wish I could say it was the end. It was the first sound of something new. 74 hours earlier, the verification chamber hummed at 47.2 Hz, the same frequency it had held for 7 millennia. Sarathkor sat at his recording station, adjusting the input slates. He had done this 2,341 times before. Each time, a species had fallen. Each time, the hum had covered the words, the protests, the silence that followed. He checked the calibration on his primary slate. The needle sat exactly at 47.2. He tapped it twice out of habit. It did not move. Drakenver rose from the obsidian throne. The chamber, hollowed from a 200-mile asteroid, held 4,700 delegates from conquered systems. They sat in perfect rows, silent, watching. The hum filled every corner. It was the sound of empire. Ver spoke. His voice was low, resonant, the words written by his predecessors. The Zarathian Empire claims sovereignty over the territory designated Sol Sector. You will comply. He had said those words 51 times before. Each time, a delegation had bowed, or a fleet had been destroyed, or a species had been reduced to a footnote. This time, the words landed on silence. Ambassador Illes, the Valeth delegate, made a note on her tablet. She folded her hands. She had been the only delegate ever to negotiate terms. That had been 178 years ago. She did not speak now. Fleet Executor Coral stepped forward. His battle-scarred jaw plates clicked once. Supreme Commander, I recommend a 9-system approach. The human territory is small, but their defensive platforms are unverified. We should stage through the outer gates. Ver did not look at him. The assessment has been made. The humans are pre-FTL minimal. Their defenses are limited to orbital debris and outdated railguns. The divine mandate requires speed. Coral's jaw plates clicked again, but he said nothing. He stepped back. Sarathkor recorded the exchange. He added a notation. Executor Coral's recommendation overruled. Speed prioritized over caution. He did not write the thought that followed. Coral had never been wrong about staging. The verification chamber hummed. Ver turned to the tactical display. It showed Sol Sector, 14 planets, one of them habitable, Earth. The data readout listed population, industrial output, military capacity. The numbers were unremarkable. The Zarathian Empire had 998 star systems. Earth had 14. The ratio was 71-1. Vare did the mathematics in his head. Then he stopped doing mathematics. 74 hours, he said. The ultimatum will be delivered to their governing body. If they do not surrender within 74 hours, the invasion will proceed. He looked at Sarath-Kor. Record that. Sarath-Kor spoke the words. 74 hours. Annexation of Sol sector by Zarathian Empire. Noncompliance authorizes full military engagement. He paused. His secondary eyelids flickered once, a brief, involuntary movement. He had never flickered before recording an annexation. He was 417 years old. He had recorded 2,341 annexations. None of them had lasted 74 hours. Most were over in 14 hours or less. He looked at the human data again. The 14 planets, the outdated railguns, the minimal fleet, 143 man-ships according to the intelligence report. He looked at the ratio, 71-1. He looked at the hum. It was still 47.2 hertz. He closed the slate. 72 hours remained on the ultimatum. The fleet was moving. 2.3 astronomical units from Earth, the Viridian Gate shimmered. It was a boundary marker, a relic from a previous empire. The Zarathians had not built it, they had inherited it. It marked the edge of Sol sector. Behind it, the human system lay quiet. Admiral Torvin Serk sat in a bunker 2,400 feet below the Rocky Mountains. The room was concrete and steel, lit by cold fluorescent strips. A coffee mug sat on the edge of his console. The coffee was cold. He drank it anyway. Commander Jace Okonkwo stood to his left, reading from a tablet. The ultimatum arrived 30 minutes ago. They gave us 74 hours to surrender. They have 1,200 ships crossing the gate in 6 hours. Serk did not look up. He was winding a silver pocket watch. The watch was dented. The crystal had a crack that ran from the center to the edge. He turned the crown once, twice, 3 times. He had done this every morning at 700 hours for 31 years. 74 hours, he said. That's generous. Okonkwo did not laugh. They have 1,200 capital ships, 44 support vessels, 340,000 ground troops. We have 143 manned ships and 9,100 defensive platforms that are mostly automated. The ratio is not in our favor. Serk snapped the watch closed. The ratio is meaningless. He stood, walked to a wall display and pressed a sequence of buttons. A map appeared. It was not a standard star map. It showed 47 points, clusters of gray icons in gravity shadows behind gas giants in the deep dark between orbits. These, he said, are the silent yards. They are not on any human map. They are not on any Zarathian map. They are on a map that only 4 admirals have ever seen. That map is 287 years old. Okonkwo stared at the gray icons. How many? Serk took a sip of cold coffee. 4,700 automated vessels, fully operational, plus the yards are still spooling production. We've been building them one at a time since the Kessler Belt skirmish. Okonkwo's eyes widened. That's 31 years. Exactly. Serk put the watch in his pocket. My brother died in that skirmish. He was on the Terra Nova. The Zarathians didn't even notice they destroyed a ship. They were just clearing debris. To them, it was nothing. He turned to face Okonkwo. I made a decision that day. I would not let them come back. I would not let them think we were nothing, so I started building. Not ships, a doctrine, a way to wait, a way to count. He touched the display. The gray icons pulsed once. They never asked what we were building. They never asked why we went quiet. They assumed silence was surrender. He paused. Silence was listening. Okonkwo exhaled slowly. What do we do with the 74 hours? Use every hour, Serk said. We'll let them come, we'll let them bleed, and when they think they've won, we'll show them the count. He sat back down and wound the watch again. It was not 700 hours. He wound it anyway. On the obsidian seat, the verification chamber hummed at 47.2 hertz. It had not stopped. It had never stopped. Sarath Kor was reviewing the data stream from the human sector. The ultimatum had been delivered. The human governing body had not responded. They had not even acknowledged. He noted that in the record, human governing body, no response, silence interpreted as noncompliance. He paused. His secondary eyelids flickered. Something was wrong. The human data did not match the pattern. He had seen species resist before. They always argued, pleaded, threatened, or begged. The humans had done none of those things. They had simply gone silent. It was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of someone who had already made a decision. He looked at the tactical display. The Zarathian fleet was moving toward the Viridian Gate. 6 hours out. He looked at the human defense platforms, 100 of them, scattered across the outer system. They were mostly automated. They were not a threat to a fleet of 1,200 capital ships. He looked at the 143 manned ships. They were outdated models, according to the intelligence reports. They would be destroyed in the first wave. He looked at the hum. 47.2 hertz. He had never heard it waver. He wrote a note, hum stable, fleet proceeding. Human silence remains unexplained. He did not add what he felt, a flicker in his own certainty, a coldness behind his secondary eyelids. The fleet crossed the Viridian Gate at 1400 hours, Zarathian Standard Time. They had 1,200 ships. They had 44 support vessels. They had 340,000 ground troops ready to deploy. They had never lost a fleet engagement. Coral gave the order to advance. The ships spread into formation. The human defensive platforms activated, of them rising from debris fields, from asteroid shadows, from the dark spaces between planets. They were small, automated, and they did not hesitate. The first wave lost 83 ships. Coral watched the data. They are targeting our supply lines. They are not trying to win. They are trying to slow us. Vare's voice came through the comm. They are delaying the inevitable. Press forward. The second wave pressed forward. The defense platforms shifted tactics. They did not engage the capital ships directly. They targeted the support vessels, the fuel carriers, the ammunition barges. Another 97 ships lost. The Empire had lost 180 ships in the first 2 hours. Coral's jaw plates clicked. Supreme Commander, I recommend a strategic withdrawal to regroup. The human platforms are exceeding our projections. Vare's answer was cold. They are outnumbered, they are outgunned, they are pre-FTL, continue. The third wave committed full force. All 1,200 ships pressed hard. The defense platforms responded in kind. Earth lost 3 platforms for every Zarathian ship destroyed. The math was brutal, but it was math. Serk watched from his bunker. He did not blink. At hour 12, the Empire had lost 311 ships. At hour 24, the loss count reached 487. At hour 36, it passed 600. They still had not reached Earth's orbit. They had not even reached the inner system. Vare opened a channel to Coral. What is the status of the ground troops? Coral's voice was strained. We cannot deploy. We cannot secure a staging area. The defensive platforms control every approach. We are losing supply ships faster than we can replace them. The troops are sitting on their transports, running low on fuel, low on ammunition, low on morale. Vare's jaw ridges clicked for the first time. They are one system. One species with outdated weapons. How is this possible? Coral did not answer. He did not know. Sarath Kor recorded everything. He noted the loss counts, the time stamps, the tactical decisions. He noted that his secondary eyelids had flickered 17 times in the last 36 hours. He had never flickered 17 times in a century. He also noted something else. The verification chamber's hum, he could still hear it, but he had started to notice the silence between the cycles. It was not a continuous tone. It was a series of pulses, micro-gaps, barely perceptible. He had never noticed before. He wondered if it had always been that way. He looked at the human data again. The 143 manned ships they had not engaged. They were holding position near Earth. They were watching. They were waiting. He wrote, human capital ships remain uncommitted. All surface-to-orbit defense is automated. The humans are not fighting. They are conserving. This is not the behavior of a species that expects to lose. He looked at the display. The white dots, the defense platforms, were still active. The red dots, the Empire's ships, were still shrinking. He looked at the hum, 47.2 hertz. He had a thought he did not record. The hum had been running for 7,200 years. It had never stopped. Today it would. At hour 48, the Empire had lost 517 ships. The remaining 683 were low on fuel, low on ammunition, and had not reached Earth's orbit. Vere ordered a tactical pause. The fleet withdrew to the outer edge of the system. He opened a channel to Earth. "This is Supreme Commander Draken Vere. You are outnumbered. You are outgunned. You have delayed us, but you have not stopped us. Surrender now and your species will be spared. Continue and you will be annihilated." Silence. Then a voice, calm, tired. "This is Admiral Torvin Serk. You gave us 74 hours. We have used 48. We still have 26 left. You have lost 517 ships. We have lost 1,200 platforms. You are not outnumbering us. You are outlasting us." Vere's jaw ridges clicked. "You cannot sustain this." Serk's voice was flat. "We have been sustaining this for 287 years. Your ultimatum is not the first we have faced. It is just the first you have delivered." The channel cut. The verification chamber hummed. Sarath Kor's secondary eyelids flickered for the 19th time. He looked at his recording. He had heard the human's voice. He had heard the calmness. He had heard the patience. He had heard something he could not name. He looked at the hum. It was still 47.2 hertz, but he had started to wonder if it would ever stop. And then at hour 54, the human defensive platforms shifted again. The 4,700 dots that were not on any map began to emerge from the gravity shadows. They were not defensive platforms. They were ships, fully automated, heavily armed, and they did not defend. They counterstruck. They targeted the logistical ships, the fuel carriers, the ammunition barges, the transports carrying 340,000 ground troops. They struck with precision, with efficiency, with the patience of a species that had been waiting. By hour 62, the Empire had lost 637 ships. The remaining 563 were in full retreat. They had not reached Earth's orbit. They had not deployed a single ground troop. They had not accomplished anything but loss. Vere opened a channel to Coral. "What are they?" Coral's voice was hollow. "They are the ones who waited." Sarath Kor's secondary eyelids flickered. He counted. It was the 32nd time. He had never flickered more than 20 times in a single record. He was at 32 and the hum was still running. He looked at the verification chamber. It had hummed for 7,200 years. It had never stopped. It had never wavered. It was still humming. But he realized something. The hum was not a guarantee. It was a habit. It was a sound that had become a certainty, and certainty was not the same as truth. He looked at the display. The white dots, now 4,700 plus the remaining platforms, outnumbered the red dots by almost 10 to 1. The red dots were running. The white dots were not chasing. They were holding. They were waiting. He looked at his slate. He had written. The verification chamber hummed at 47.2 hertz. It had not stopped. It had never stopped. He put down the stylus. He had a feeling it would stop soon. He did not know how long he sat there. The silence of his own thoughts was louder than the hum had ever been. He picked up the stylus again, not to write, just to hold it. The metal was cold. On the display, the white dots held their position. The red dots continued their retreat, slow and disorganized. Coral stepped closer to Vare. "Supreme Commander, we must decide." Vare did not answer. His jaw ridges were still, his hands hung at his sides. Coral waited, then spoke again. "We have less than 500 ships remaining. Fuel reserves are at critical levels. Ammunition is depleted. The troops have not eaten in a day. We cannot sustain a withdrawal without resupply. We are stranded." Vare's jaw ridges clicked once. He turned slowly, meeting Coral's eyes. "Stranded," he repeated. "Yes," Coral said. Vare looked back at the display. "How many did we lose?" "Hundreds," Coral said. "Most of the fleet." Vare pressed a control on his throne. A channel opened. Serk's voice came through. "Admiral Serk." "You have won this engagement," Vare said. "I concede the field." Silence, then Serk. "That is not what I asked for." "What do you want?" 74 hours, Serk said. "You gave us 74 hours. I want to know what you learned." Vare paused. "You are more prepared than we believed." "That is observation, not learning. What will you do differently next time?" "There will be no next time." "You are right," Serk said. "You will not return. You will not threaten Earth again. You will tell your empire we are not a footnote. We are a number you failed to count." Vare's voice dropped. "You are one system, we have thousands." "And we have been waiting," Serk said. "That is the difference. Your empire has been running for 7,200 years. We have prepared for 287. You were never invincible. You were just first." The channel cut. Vare sat back. The hum continued, steady, relentless. But Sarathkor had seen Vare's hands shake, just once. He recorded it. Supreme Commander's hands trembled, brief. The retreat continued. The red dots moved slowly out of the system. The white dots held position. Coral approached Vare again. "Supreme Commander, we need to request supplies from the outer colonies." "Send the request," Vare said. "To which sector?" "All of them." Coral's jaw plates clicked in surprise. "That is a declaration of loss. The Empire has never done that." "Then it will be the first time," Vare said flatly. "The Empire will learn we lost, we retreated, we failed." Sarathkor recorded it. "General supply request to all outer colonies. Unprecedented." He looked at the display. The red dots were barely moving, conserving fuel. Less than a day remained before they would be stranded. The hum continued at 47.2 hertz. Sarathkor checked the calibration, steady, but he noticed something, a flicker. The needle moved just a fraction. He blinked. It was steady again. He wrote, "Possible momentary fluctuation. Unconfirmed, monitor closely." At hour 68, Coral received a response. Supplies would take days to reach the fleet. They had less than a day of fuel. Vare listened without expression. "Then we will drift. We will wait. We will sit here in the dark." Coral sent a smaller ship ahead to meet the convoy. Sarathkor noted that Vare had not asked about casualties, the troops, or morale. He wrote, "Supreme Commander has ceased active command. Fleet operations delegated to Coral." At hour 71, Serk's voice returned. A broadcast directed at the entire empire. "To the Zarathian Empire. You have sent 1,200 ships. You have lost hundreds. You have not reached our orbit. You have not deployed a single soldier. Your empire is built on the assumption you are the strongest. That is false. You are not the strongest. You are just the oldest. You forgot how to see. You did not see us building. You did not see us waiting. You did not see us counting. The first wave was always the smallest. You just never asked what came after." The channel went silent. The hum was still running. Sarathkor stared at his slate. He had heard those words before in the cold drop. Now they carried the weight of everything that had led to them. Ver's hands were shaking again, a steady, visible tremor. Coral stepped forward. Supreme Commander, the broadcast is being relayed across the Empire. Delegates are requesting clarification. Ver did not answer. His eyes were fixed on the white dots, thousands of them, waiting, watching. Sarathkor looked at the hum. It was still running, but it sounded thinner, more metallic. He wrote, "Verification chamber hum continues. Tonal shift detected. Possibly psychological." At hour 72, the supply convoy arrived, small freighters carrying fuel and ammunition. The red dots began to move again, gathering formation. They were still retreating, but no longer drifting. Ver watched the freighters. His hands had stopped shaking. He turned to Coral. "We will withdraw to the outer colonies. We will regroup. We will report to the council. And we will send a message to the humans. One message. No threats, just a question." He opened a channel. "Admiral Serk, you said you prepared for 287 years. Why? What made you begin?" Serk's voice came quickly, carrying weight. "My brother died in a skirmish decades ago. Your fleet did not even notice. To you it was debris. To me it was a promise. I would never let you come back without knowing we were here. You never saw us because you never looked. You never counted because you never thought we mattered. That was your first mistake. Your last one was coming back." The channel cut. Ver sat back, staring at the display. Sarathkor recorded the exchange. He wrote, "Admiral Serk's reason, personal loss. He began after his brother's death. He built the silent yards over decades. He waited. He counted. He was always ready." He looked at the hum. The flicker was back, a noticeable dip. The frequency dropped for a full second, then returned. The system logged it. He wrote, "First recorded deviation in 7,200 years." He knew then that the hum would not last. He wrote, "The hum will stop. When it does, the Empire will hear silence for the first time. That silence will be the sound of everything we were wrong about." At hour 74, the ultimatum expired. Nothing happened. The humans had already won. They had broken the Empire's will before the count ran out. The flickers were becoming more frequent. The needle was moving. Sarathkor wrote, "Verification chamber hum degrading. Frequency instability increasing. Estimated failure unknown, but it will happen." Ver opened his eyes. He looked at Sarathkor. "Scribe, send a final transmission. One sentence, we will not forget this." Sarathkor sent it. Serk's response came a minute later. "Neither will we. We have been ready for 287 years. We will be ready for 287 more." The channel closed. The hum flickered every few seconds, the frequency unstable, the needle swinging. Sarathkor looked at his slate. He wrote, "The verification chamber will stop at 700 hours. I do not know why I know that, but I do." The chronometer showed 6:45. 15 minutes remained. He watched. The hum dropped, rose back, dropped again. It was no longer a steady drone, a series of uneven pulses, a sound dying. He looked at Ver. Ver was watching the chronometer, counting down. At 6:59, the hum was barely holding, a thin, wavering tone. Sarathkor held his breath. The chronometer clicked to 700. The hum stopped. Silence, full, absolute, deafening, not empty, full of everything they had never heard, their own breathing, their own doubt, their own failure. Ver's eyes were open, fixed on the empty space where the hum had been. His voice was quiet, barely audible. It stopped. Sarathkor recorded it. "The verification chamber stopped at 700. It has not restarted. I do not know if it can." He looked at the display. The white dots were still there, waiting. They had always been waiting. He put down the stylus. He had witnessed the end of certainty. He had heard the silence that would define the Empire forever. And he understood then that the hum had not been a sound. It had been a lie told for 7,000 years. Now the lie was gone. He wrote one more line, "The silence is real, everything else was not." On the obsidian seat, the silence did not fade. Sarath remained at his station, the empty space where the hum had been pressing against his hearing. He had expected the hum to return. It did not. The chronometer ticked past 7:01, then 7:02. The needle on the calibration display sat at 0. He had never seen it at 0. Around him, the chamber was frozen. Delegates from conquered systems stared at the empty air. Their silence was different from the hum's silence. It was not full, it was hollow. They had come here expecting to witness an annexation. Instead, they had witnessed the death of a sound they had never known was alive. Coral moved first. He stepped toward Vare, his jaw plates clicking softly. "Supreme Commander, the fleet is in withdrawal. The supply convoy is escorting us to the outer colonies. We will reach the first resupply point in 6 days." Vare did not respond. His eyes were still fixed on the display, but they had lost their focus. He was not seeing the red dots or the white dots. He was seeing nothing. Coral waited. When Vare did not move, Coral turned to Sarath. "Scribe, record the status of the fleet. Note that the Supreme Commander is—" He stopped. He did not know how to finish the sentence. Sarath spoke. "The Supreme Commander is in command. He has not relinquished authority." He did not look at Coral as he said it. He was recording the status of the fleet, but his attention was on Vare. The Supreme Commander had not blinked in minutes. Then Vare spoke. His voice was quiet, distant. "Send a message to the Council. Tell them the verification chamber has stopped. Tell them the humans have 4,700 ships. Tell them we lost. Tell them everything." Coral hesitated. "Supreme Commander, the Council will demand details. They will want to know how this happened." "Then tell them I do not know," Vare said. "Tell them I have never been defeated before. Tell them I have no answer. Tell them the silence is all I have to give." He stood slowly, his hands pressing against the armrests. He walked to the center of the chamber, where the verification chamber's primary resonator sat. It was a black cylinder, smooth and cold, with a single dial that had pointed at 47.2 for 7,000 years. It was pointing at 0. Vare touched the dial, his fingers were shaking again. "It stopped," he said. Not to anyone, to himself. Sarath recorded it. He wrote, "Supreme Commander." Vare touched the verification chamber. His hands shook. He repeated the words, "It stopped." Then Vare turned. His amber eyes found Sarath. "Scribe, you have been recording this since the beginning. What do you think?" The question landed like a blow. Sarath had never been asked his opinion. He was a scribe. He recorded facts. He did not think. But Vare was looking at him, waiting, and the silence in the chamber demanded an answer. Sarath spoke carefully. "I think the humans did not win because they had more ships. They won because they knew we would not see them. They understood our certainty was our weakness. They waited until we were sure, and then they showed us we were wrong." Vare nodded slowly. "I thought the hum was the sound of empire. It was the sound of our confidence. It was the sound of our history. I thought it would never stop, and now it has, and I do not know what the empire is without it." He paused. "Send a message to the Council. Tell them I will return. Tell them I will answer their questions. But first, I want to speak to the human admiral again. I want to ask him one more thing." He opened the channel. "Admiral Serk, you said you built 4,700 ships in 287 years. That is a number I understand. But what I do not understand is why you stopped at 4,700. Why not more? Why not 50,000? Serk's voice came back, calm and unhurried. "Because we only needed enough to stop the first wave. The rest are still being built." The channel went silent. Vare's hands, still on the dial, tightened. "The first wave," he repeated. "You said that before. The first wave was always the smallest. You were not trying to destroy us. You were trying to warn us." "I was trying to show you," Serk said. I was trying to show you that you never saw us. You saw what you wanted to see, a small species, a weak species, a species that had no chance. You were wrong, and now you know you were wrong. What you do with that knowledge is up to you." Ver closed the channel. He did not speak for a long time. The chamber was silent, but the silence had changed. It was no longer empty. It was full of the weight of what Serk had said. Sarathkor looked at his slate. He wrote, "The human admiral did not threaten. He did not gloat. He simply stated the truth. The truth was more devastating than any threat." Hours passed. The fleet continued its withdrawal. The white dots remained where they were. The hum did not return. At hour 78, the first message arrived from the Council. It was a formal inquiry, requesting a full report on the engagement. Ver read it, handed it to Coral, and said nothing. Coral read it aloud. "The Council requests a full account of the engagement. They ask why the fleet was not able to secure victory against a pre-FTL species. They ask why the Supreme Commander ordered a general supply request. They ask why the verification chamber stopped." Ver listened without expression. When Coral finished, Ver said, "Tell them I will provide a full account when I return. Tell them I have no answers yet. Tell them I am still learning." Coral transmitted the response. Sarathkor recorded it. He noted that Ver had used the word learning. He had never heard Ver use that word before. At hour 80, the fleet reached the edge of Sol sector. The red dots began to accelerate, moving toward the outer colonies. The white dots did not follow. They held their position, watching, waiting. Sarathkor looked at the display. He saw the white dots, thousands of them, and he understood something new. They were not just defending. They were sending a message. They were saying, "We are here. We have always been here. We will always be here." He wrote, "The humans are not retreating. They are not advancing. They are simply present. That is the most threatening posture I have ever seen." At hour 84, Coral approached Ver. "Supreme Commander, we have received a second message from the Council. They are demanding an immediate explanation. The delegates from 11 systems have submitted formal protests. They are questioning the Empire's ability to protect them." Ver turned to Coral. "Let them question. Let them protest. Let them do whatever they want. I will not give them answers until I have them, and I do not have them yet." He paused. "But I know one thing. The humans did not win because they were stronger. They won because they were patient. They won because they waited. They won because they saw us coming and prepared for us. And we did not see them. We did not prepare. We did not wait. We assumed." He looked at Sarathkor. "Scribe, write this down. This is what I have learned. The Empire has been running for 7,000 years. We have never been challenged. We have never been doubted. We have never been tested. And because of that, we have become blind. We have become lazy. We have become certain. And certainty is not strength. Certainty is weakness." Sarathkor wrote the words. He knew they would become part of the Empire's history. He did not know if they would be believed. At hour 90, the fleet entered the outer colonies. The red dots began to disperse, each ship moving to its designated resupply point. The withdrawal was complete. The Empire had lost. The humans had won. But the silence remained. It followed Ver. It followed Coral. It followed Sarathkor. It was everywhere, and it was not empty. It was full of everything they had not said. Sarathkor looked at the chronometer. It was 1200 hours Zarathian Standard Time. He had been awake for days. His secondary eyelids had flickered hundreds of times. He was tired, but he could not sleep. He had too much to record. He wrote, "The verification chamber has not restarted. It has been silent for 26 hours. The Council is demanding answers. The Supreme Commander is refusing to give them. The Empire is divided for the first time in 7,000 years. I do not know what will happen next, but I know the silence is not over. It is just beginning." He paused. He looked at the display. The white dots were still there, thousands of them holding their position at the edge of Saul's sector. They were not moving. They were not threatening. They were simply present. He wrote one more line. They are still waiting. And I do not know what they are waiting for, but I know they are patient enough to wait forever. At hour 92, Ver summoned Sarath Kor to his private quarters. It was the first time he had done so. Sarath Kor brought his slate. Ver was standing by the viewport looking out at the stars. His back was to the room. When Sarath Kor entered, Ver did not turn. He spoke quietly. "Scribe, the council will send a delegation to meet us at the outer colonies. They will demand a full accounting. They will demand to know why I failed. They will demand to know why the hum stopped. They will demand a lot of things I do not have answers for." He paused. "But I have one answer, and I want you to record it." He turned to face Sarath Kor. His amber eyes were tired, but they were clear. "The hum stopped because it was a lie. It was a lie we told ourselves. We told ourselves we were invincible. We told ourselves we were the strongest. We told ourselves we would never fail, and we believed it because we had never been proven wrong. The humans proved us wrong. They did not attack us. They did not destroy us. They simply showed us we were not what we thought we were, and that was enough." He stepped closer. "I want you to record that. I want you to put it in the official record. I want the Empire to know that I was wrong. I want them to know that I was blind. I want them to know that I did not see what was coming, and because of that, thousands of my people died. I want them to know the truth." Sarath Kor wrote the words. He did not look up. He wrote, "Supreme Commander Ver admits his failure. He admits his blindness. He accepts responsibility. This is unprecedented in the Empire's history." When he finished, Ver nodded. "Thank you, that is all." Sarath Kor turned to leave. At the door, Ver spoke again. "One more thing, the human admiral, Serk. He said his brother died in a skirmish decades ago. He said your fleet did not even notice. That is what started this. Not a war, not an invasion, a skirmish we did not see, a death we did not count." He paused. "We have been counting stars for 7,000 years. We have never counted the lives we took. We did not count his brother, and because of that, we will never be the same." Sarath Kor nodded. He left the quarters. He walked to his station and sat down. He looked at the display. The white dots were still there. They had not moved. He wrote, "The Empire has been counting the wrong things. We counted ships. We counted systems. We counted victories. We never counted the cost. The humans counted the cost. They counted it for 287 years. And now they have shown us what we missed." He put down the stylus. The silence was still there. It was the only thing that was real. Sarath Kor sat with the silence for a long time. The stylus was cold in his hand. The display showed the white dots still holding at the edge of Saul's sector. They had not moved in hours. Then Ver's voice came through the intercom. "All delegates, report to the Obsidian Chamber. The Supreme Commander will address you." Sarath Kor stood. He walked to the chamber, his feet echoing on the stone floor. The delegates were already gathering, their faces uncertain. They had not seen Ver since the hum stopped. Ver stood at the center of the chamber, beside the verification chamber's dead resonator. His hands were clasped behind his back. His amber eyes were clear. He waited until the chamber was silent. Then he spoke. "I have failed you. I failed the Empire. I failed the divine mandate. I brought 1,200 ships to a system I did not understand. I lost hundreds of them. I lost thousands of crew. I lost the verification chamber's hum. I lost the one thing we thought was eternal." He paused. The chamber was silent. No one moved. "I am not here to make excuses. I am here to tell you what I learned. The humans are not weak. They are not primitive. They are not a footnote. They are a species that spent 287 years preparing for us. They built 4,700 ships in secret. They did not attack us. They did not destroy us. They simply showed us we were wrong." He stepped closer to the delegates. "And they are not done. The human admiral told me the rest are still being built. The first wave was always the smallest. That was his message. He was not threatening us. He was warning us. He was telling us that we have been counting the wrong things. We counted ships. We counted systems. We counted victories. We never counted the cost. We never counted the lives we took. We never counted the patience of those we conquered. He looked at Sarath Kor. Scribe, record this. I am ordering a full review of the Empire's expansion policy. I am ordering a complete audit of every system we have conquered. I am ordering a census of every species we have subjugated. I am ordering the Empire to learn what it has been ignoring for 7,000 years. The delegates stirred. Coral stepped forward. Supreme Commander, the Council will never approve such measures. Vare turned to him. Then the Council will learn the same lesson I learned. The humans did not beat us with weapons. They beat us with truth. They showed us we were blind. We can either remain blind and be destroyed, or we can open our eyes and survive. I choose survival. He opened a channel. Admiral Serk, I am sending you this transmission publicly. I want my Empire to hear what I say. Serk's voice came through, calm as always. I am listening. Vare took a breath. You were right, we never saw you. We never counted you. We never thought you mattered. That was our mistake. I am ordering my Empire to stop making that mistake. I am ordering a full cessation of offensive operations in all sectors. I am ordering a complete review of our doctrine. I am telling my people the truth. We were wrong. There was a long pause, then Serk spoke. That is a good first step, but it is only a first step. The first wave was always the smallest. That applies to you too. What you do next will determine what comes after. What would you have us do? Vare asked. See us, Serk said. Really see us. Not as a threat, not as a target, as a species that survived. We did not want this war. We did not start it. We only prepared for it. And now we have shown you that we are not what you assumed. The question is, what are you going to assume now? Vare nodded slowly. I will assume nothing. I will learn. I will count. I will see. The channel closed. The chamber was silent again, but it was a different silence. It was not empty. It was full of the weight of what had been said. Sarath Kor looked at his slate. He wrote, Supreme Commander Vare has ordered a review of Empire policy. He has publicly admitted failure. He has opened a dialogue with the humans. This is the first time in 7,000 years that the Empire has changed its direction. He paused. He looked at the verification chamber's resonator. The dial was still at 0. The hum was gone, but he realized something. The silence was not the absence of sound. It was the presence of something new. It was the sound of the Empire listening. He wrote another line. The hum stopped. The silence began. That silence is the first sound of something real. Hours passed. The delegates returned to their stations. Coral began drafting the new policy review. Vare remained in the chamber, standing beside the dead resonator. Sarath Kor stayed with him. At midnight, Vare spoke again. Scribe, send a final message to the human admiral. No demands, no questions, just this. I will count what I have not counted. I will see what I have not seen. I will learn from my failure. That is my promise. Sarath Kor transmitted the message. Serk's response came quickly. That is all I wanted. We will be watching. We will be waiting. And we will be ready if you ever forget what you learned today. Vare nodded. He turned to Sarath Kor. The verification chamber, the hum, do you think it will ever return? Sarath Kor considered. I think it does not need to. The hum was a lie. The silence is the truth. The Empire needs truth more than it needs certainty. Vare was silent for a moment. Then he said, I thought the hum was the sound of Empire. It was the sound of our history. It was the sound of our confidence. I thought it would never stop. And now it has, and I do not know what the Empire is without it. He looked at the resonator, but I am beginning to learn. He walked away toward his quarters. Sarath Kor remained at his station. He looked at the display. The white dots were still there, thousands of them holding their position. They were not moving. They were not threatening. They were simply present. He wrote his final entry. The verification chamber stopped at 700 hours. It has not restarted. The empire is changing. The humans are still waiting. The silence is real. He put down the stylus. He looked at the resonator one last time. The dial was still at 0. He had recorded everything. He had witnessed the end of certainty. He had heard the silence that would define the empire forever. He stood and walked to the viewport. The stars were shining. The fleet was gone. The humans were out there somewhere still counting. He thought of Admiral Serk. He thought of the brother who died in a skirmish no one noticed. He thought of the watch Serk wound every morning. He thought of the years of waiting, the years of building, the years of silence. He understood then that the silence was not empty. It was full of the future. The empire would never be the same. The humans would never stop watching, and the hum would never return. He looked at the empty resonator. He said quietly to no one, "It stopped." And the silence answered,